Hello and welcome to another episode of Scavenger Life. This is episode number 271 at scavengerlife.com.
So this week I wanted to start by talking about the balance between a listing and scavenging. Or I guess scavenging would come first and listing a second. Like how much time should you spend on both those things? Because I've been seeing people talk about in the blog comments about, it's summertime, the just garage sales are going crazy.
Right.
Like if you're in your house, you're probably missing out on things. And I get that.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, what is the right amount of your time spent going to find stuff versus putting stuff online?
Right.
And I think that it depends on where you are in your business, in your store. Like when we first started an eBay store, I would say we put at least 75% of our time into scavenging.
I mean, we would go almost every day.
Almost every day.
Yeah.
Because number one is we needed inventory.
Yeah.
Number two, that's the fun part.
Right.
So,
sure.
Our excitement is just
Yeah.
That was when I totally understand that feeling of, we'd be sitting in our house and I'd just be thinking,
There's stuff out there.
Maybe they put a new stuff out at a thrift store, or it's Saturday. There's a flea market. There could be stuff.
They're yard sales. Yeah.
But very quickly we had more stuff than we could handle.
Yeah.
Piles. We were working out of another house, and there was one room, like I think a lot of people have. It was like a spare bedroom that became like the eBay Doom.
Oh, we had
room.
There are two twin beds in there. And there were like 4 piles of clothes that looked like mountains. Kind of like what we have in our house now. But, it's just funny because it was like...
And there was stuff in the corners, it was everywhere. And there was even an outdoor shed that had boxes of stuff.
Yeah.
And most of this stuff was not listed yet, because we had easily amassed. Every day we would come home with bagfuls of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's when we really had to learn to teach ourselves a little bit of its restraint, or at least be smart about it, because too much unlisted inventory can really sap efficiency.
Yeah.
I mean, we call them death piles, or at least I started calling them that, because that's what it kind of feels like when you're surrounded by stuff. It feels overwhelming. It just feels like it's like it sucks the energy out of you, like it wants to kill you.
Hence the death piles.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, for me, it's kind of like you just have to get motivated to do it, and that can be hard sometimes,
Absolutely.
Right.
And when piles get to be too big, it seems daunting where it's almost hard to get started.
Right.
Like it's saps you.
You're like, how do I even...
It's morale,
go about doing this?
Yeah.
I'll do something else. I'll do the easier stuff.
Right. I mean, and it's like I always say, 20 things. Just don't look at the whole pile. Grab 20 things. Just do that. And maybe just do that for the day. Yeah.
Like, yesterday I was doing t-shirts. I mean, we have a lot of t-shirts, although the pile's getting a lot smaller.
Right.
And, it took me like 2 days to get started because I was just like, Right. But I did 30 t-shirts yesterday, so.
And I was always there encouraging you. Come on, you can do it.
Yep.
And, I think many new people that come onto eBay, like we see them on a YouTube, they post the haul and videos. It's like, in 50 years, when they look back at this day and age, there's going to be a little subculture that they'll study. They'll be like, there was a subculture, and they would go out and they would buy stuff and they would make videos of what they bought.
Yep.
We've always said that we find those kind of videos very uninspiring and not interesting because anyone can go out and find stuff. Like, it's like shooting fish in a barrel if you live in America, You
just find stuff everywhere.
Anyone can go out there, spend... It's $50, I feel it would be expensive, and you can get bagfuls of stuff,
Look, that's why I want to do what sold videos, because I want to learn from people what sells.
Right, like what actually sold and what did it actually sell for,
Right, what should I look for?
Yeah, so, and I always wonder about the people that really get into the haul of videos, like it's making them, if they're listing as much as they find.
Right.
Because that's really... and that's, I think, a lot of what we all talk about here is the unglamorous part of eBay, the part that no one really wants to talk about because it's not fun. It's like sitting down and putting
listing
a work.
yeah.
So now I say that percentage from when we began has switched.
Yeah.
75% of our time is spent a listing.
Yeah.
And just managing the store, shipping, just talking to, answering its questions.
Yep.
I mean, it might not, I don't think it's even 25% is spent scavenging. It might be lately like 15% of our time is spent scavenging.
Part of it is because when we do scavenge, we seem to find a lot of stuff. So, we can have a car full of stuff and just be like, I'm good for the week. Like, right. I don't need to go out again. Like, I have piles
right.
of stuff.
So, I think Ryan's going to disagree with me here. But, I have really been working on our death pile for the past year. I forgot exactly. It's when I started.
It's a year, yeah.
I remember we had like a storage shed that had bins of stuff. We got rid of that shed or that storage.
That's amazing, actually.
We put it all on our porch, and I remember there were like 27 big, those big Rubbermaid plastic bins of just stuff we'd been putting away.
Random stuff.
And so I was determined either to list it or donate it. So I've been going through it. We have only 2 of those bins left.
Amazing.
And I will say we started with 27 of those bins, and then we probably found another 10 or 15 kind of piles that were around the house that I'd be like, oh, this is a whole other bin I've got to do.
This thing hiding in the corner, we're like, oh, that's a box of eBay stuff. Yeah. I had no idea what that was.
So I'm almost down. I have 2 of those boxes left, and that's amazing. And it's like ties and belts. It's like the last thing I want to do.
Belts sell, so ties are slow, but...
And also, on top of that, we're not letting any new death piles really grow.
That's all you.
Like, I'm trying to teach myself as stuff comes in to get it done. It's within, a couple weeks of when we buy it. Yeah. Just so it doesn't get hidden.
Right.
Again.
Well, and that's what will happen. If you keep shopping every week or however much you shop, and then you're like, oh, I got to put this in a box and just put it on the front porch. Yeah. That's how it happens.
Because really finding stuff is not a successful business.
Right.
It's part of the process. Until it's listed and sold, it means a nothing. It's worthless,
Right.
So anyway, it's and also I find that us doing that gives us a sense of control. It's not actual control, right? But it gives us a sense of control that our stuff is not, in charge of us.
Yeah.
It's like
And
the good thing too is that, the past 12 to 18 months, we've just spent so a little on inventory because we've just been digging into past inventory.
Yeah.
Like our costs are so minimal these days,
Yeah, costs on inventory. Just because we have so much that needs to go online. So.
Yep. And then the last thing I'll say about this, and then we'll go on, is, getting through those death piles really teaches you if you want to keep buying this stuff.
Right.
Like, if you really hate a listing, a particular kind of thing, it really teaches you, I don't want to ever do this again. It's like eating your vegetables or something in a way.
Yeah.
So, there are things that, I finally did, I did all those scarves. I probably
never buy scarves.
I might buy from now on 1 or 2 a year if it's really special, but no longer will I be like the old days where I just grab any old wool scarf,
right,
any silk scarf.
Yeah,
no
way.
No more.
That being said, I sold 2 scarves this week, but they're slow and they're low priced, so it's just and
it's just not exciting.
Yeah, it's boring
to me. So and what's exciting to you, or what's not exciting to me, might be exciting to somebody else.
Right.
Okay. On eBay. This past week, it was last Saturday, we actually did a live YouTube chat with Chad.
Golden Finger Picker.
Yep. He's a super nice guy.
Yeah, it was fun. Although we don't usually do video because we do a podcast.
Yeah. It was good. He's, that's definitely his element. He's good at it. It was cool talking to the people that in his group, and it was fun, and it's fun too because he's definitely the opposite of us in the sense of he's about the quick flip.
Yeah.
And we got to ask him questions about his process,
Right.
He says he sells everything. It's within like a week or two.
It's amazing.
How he prices. And the kind of stuff he buys, he's buying definitely...
Stuff that goes fast.
Stuff that can sell fast,
Yeah.
And, it's interesting. But he also said that he had like a garage full of death piles.
Of unlisted stuff, too. So he knows what that's like. We all know what it's like.
We did a good solid week.
Yes.
It was really just cranking it out,
Yeah, I mean, it's just like one of those weeks where you're like, you wake up, you do what you have to do, and then you start working. There's no distractions.
Right.
Which is very helpful.
But, I mean, also our sales were just like almost all bread and butter stuff.
Oh my God.
$20, $30, $40 stuff.
Accepting like any offer that comes in.
Taking offers.
Like, I'll take any offer.
Selling weird stuff that's been in our store for a long time,
Yeah.
So we actually sold a lot of stuff and we did pretty well, but it's just one of those weeks where, again, it's the unglamorous, no home runs. And like you said earlier, you've been listing like crazy this week.
Yep.
It was like 135 items.
Yeah.
I mean, that's great,
I mean, I have a lot of folders on my computer to list, but I also, like I'm saying, I have all these clothes, and I've been doing that the hybrid way where you start drafts, you take the photos on your camera, and then you go back and you finish the drafts. And it's good because there's no photo processing. It's super quick. It's down and dirty. Stuff is listed instantly. It's good. I like it. And
I spent all week on all these vintage pens and markers that we bought.
Yeah.
It was a lot of stuff.
I don't think you realized how much stuff you had.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing when you buy lots of items, and it's trying to figure out, well, how do you sell these? Did you sell just big lots? Did you sell individual pens?
Right.
So it's a lot of crazy. Like researching to see what value things get. So I did the best I could, and then I did see that some of that stuff sells. There's websites of people that just deal with pens. These were more it's markers, the kind of stuff that would be used at a college.
Right.
They aren't like, fancy fountain pens.
No, they're not high-end stuff like that, but they are vintage markers, highlighters, permanent markers,
right.
Markers that existed before markers existed.
Right.
Like these like glass bottles with a thing that's like a marker.
Right.
It's weird.
But we know that they're rare.
Yes.
You
can't find
they're
those things.
uncommon.
They're new in the package.
It's really the definition of long tail. I mean, this is like how many people on the planet Earth will care about these?
This is like the ultimate long tail item. I mean, you're just like vintage markers, pens, and erasers.
Right. But, and this is one of those things I was talking about last week about, there's no guarantee that we're going to make a bunch of money from this. It was definitely cheap, so we don't have a lot of money in it.
Yeah.
But it's definitely an investment of time. So I'm willing to put in basically a week of my life.
Right.
Getting this stuff prepared to be put online.
Yeah.
And then we'll just see. But...
Well, okay,
what else can you do?
Part of that risk is an educated risk. Because we have sold vintage pencils, markers, pens, and erasers to collectors. Stuff that cost us nothing. And we were like, I don't know, let's try it. There might be someone who wants a box of old pencils from, Holland. Yep, there was. Yep. So it's not like we're going in this blind.
No, but definitely when we were at the Goodwill where we bought these, they were just, no one wanted them, so they were just selling them dirt cheap.
Yeah.
And I remember that's where I'm always just like, do I go all in or do I not go all in?
Right.
And we basically went all in.
Yeah.
Because the only regrets I ever have is when I don't buy something. I would rather buy things that I have a hunch about.
Yeah.
And then come home and be like, oh, it's worth that stuff I thought, versus leaving something behind and realizing like, oh, that was so great, and never seen it again.
You left behind a gold mine.
That's the only regret I ever have.
Yeah.
And, and these are items, too, where you can research them on eBay. Like, I did it in the store.
Yeah.
There's just so a little of this stuff. There isn't really enough information.
Right. Well, what's interesting is when you don't see them, when you're like, there's none of these, that can be a very good indication because you're like, I'll be the only one that has these. Yeah. That might be a good thing. Or nobody cares. You don't know.
I don't know. So anyone out there that is like us really kind of focuses on these kind of weirder items, I mean, those are the kind of challenges that you have to deal with. And, and we get emails every week from people like, oh, I found this thing, or should I sell this? How do I sell it?
Yeah, what is it?
Like, we don't know. I mean, just do the best research that you can and then put a price on it and then be patient,
Right.
Like, and this is when I get frustrated when we talk about selling fast nickel, quick dime or whatever, slow dime.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, these are the kind of items like, I don't think I could sell these quickly even if I wanted to.
Yeah.
Like, there's no price I can put on these to like get rid of them all quickly. This is the kind of thing where the definition of being patient, because there's such a small pool of people that want these things.
Yeah.
Because they want them and it's so hard to find, you want to make sure they pay a good price.
Right.
Because this isn't like discount stuff where I'm competing against a bunch
You're
of
like,
people.
this is the only one available in the world. I mean, not that you're like, it's $1 million, but you're like, this is a rare thing. It's like those playing cards I sold for $600.
Right. Yeah.
Granted, they sold overnight.
Yep.
But you're just like, this is the only deck that's available in the world right now.
On eBay.
On eBay. Or anywhere that I could find. Right. So it's $600.
Yep. Okay, so we're dealing with a lot of non-payments. Yes. I think there are 4 items. 2 of them we've already had to end and restart. 2 more, it looked like we're in that route. So in the past 2 weeks, we've had 4 non-payments. And
well, look, one, I opened an unpaid item case, and literally 10 minutes before I was going to close it and relist it and block this person, she paid.
Right.
So that was one that got closed but was open, so it was like 5.
But, we definitely hear when people complain about this, and there's really no answer. I think they just happen. All we can do is send a couple of messages. We call them appeals.
We appeal to them.
And these are people who, made offers, we accepted, and then
we just wait.
What? I mean, it's like, you offered us this money.
Look, and also, as we've said, because the summer can be slow, we're taking like, okay, I sold this one thing. It's a sign. It's like a fake street sign. And I took a half price offer. We were like, we'll take, I think it's less than half. Because I'm like, great, that's still a good offer. I'm totally willing to... Nothing. He won't pay. He won't say anything. Yep. I'm just like, dude, I took your super low offer.
Part of me feels like because when people do send what they think are low offers and when you accept, it surprises them and maybe...
They're like, oh, I didn't think I was actually going to buy this thing.
But the other thing is, too, this, some people say, well, the unpaid item happens because someone will buy an item and then they realize that they could have bought it cheaper someplace else.
Right.
And then they just won't pay you and buy the other one. But these are weird vintage items where there aren't other ones like this.
Yeah, like one of them was this like one-of-a-kind watercolor painting. You're like, there aren't any like this. Right. This is the only one. So... I don't know. Maybe you found a different painting for half the price. I don't know.
It is what it is.
Yeah. So I actually called eBay a couple times this week. And one of the times I was asking just about our stagnant listings, that whole thing. Trying to make sure my listings were good, mobile friendly, up to date.
What did they say?
And they said they looked fine.
Okay. So you called a month ago and they were like, all of your listings look stagnant, And so we redid everything. Sold similar.
So everything looked good. I mean, really, the only advice he gave me was to lower my prices. I'm like, okay. But I also said, look, I have make offer on almost all of my store. Right. So he was like, yeah, no, that's true. I mean, basically, he was like, there's not really any advice I can give you.
Right. I mean, basically not... not everyone wants your stuff, basically.
Right, sure. And, and he said, I've heard from other sellers that summer gets slow and that's normal, blah, blah, blah. And the funny thing that I could almost I just had to bite my tongue was he was like, another thing too is you could start, listening to podcasts or watching, videos about, selling on eBay. It sounds like you sell on eBay, full time. And I was just curious. I thought he was going to say the eBay podcast. eBay has a new podcast, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, like what? And he's like, there's this podcast that another seller just told me about this week called Scavenger Life. And I was just like,
wow.
I was like, I so bad wanted to be like, that's my podcast.
Why didn't you say that?
Because
I'd be curious how he would react.
I think because when he said you should listen to podcasts, I kind of baited him because I wanted to be like, I wonder what he's going to say. But if I was like, yeah, that's my podcast, right, he'd be like, well, why did you say you acted ignorant when I talked about podcasts? Like, it was a weird,
you were just trying to see
I was trying to see what he would say. I was like, oh, are there other ones,
Very complimentary.
I was like, I got off the phone, I walked over to the house, and I was like, Jay, I cannot believe this just happened. Wow. It's so weird.
And that's so interesting. So I mean, it's not that I would ever expect it, but we've never been contacted by anyone from eBay. I mean, again, I wouldn't expect them to.
I wouldn't, yeah.
But it's so interesting. You would think they would want to feed us info. But
proper info, and we're like, we don't know about this thing.
I don't know. I could see a company wanting to do that, to ways to reach out to the community,
the greater community,
reach out to different podcasts and video. There are people on YouTube that have a lot of followers, to open up a dialogue,
right? A direct dialogue.
Because we're, I feel like there's this huge wall, and the company's behind the wall. It's like a castle, and then we're all the villagers, all the peasants outside, and we're all like, "What are they doing? How does this work?" And we all just kind of are trying to do little experiments, trying to figure it out. And it just seems like it wouldn't be that complicated just to open up a dialogue. But I guess that's why they did that eBay Open. But it's like, I got to fly to Las Vegas. It's like, I don't have time for...
Well, the good thing is, look, remember I think it was 2011 or 2012, they did have those events. Then there was a new CEO, and they stopped doing those. Right. And now there's another CEO. So I wonder if it's going to start to change, where there might be more events. Because the time we went to the eBay thing in Philadelphia, I thought it was great. I was like, wow, I'm actually super surprised at how much I learned at this, you know? And so I think it is good that they start to do events again, because I think it's important for them to do that. So hopefully, because the eBay Open happened, that's kind of cool.
But I mean, at the same time, what could what any person who sells on eBay wants is, I want to make more money.
Absolutely.
How do I sell my stuff?
I want more sales.
And I mean, what can they tell you? I mean, they just have to start working. Get their search right. Get more people to shop on eBay, through promotions or advertising. I mean, it's not a mystery. Right. I don't think any of this stuff is that complicated.
Yeah.
I mean, the concepts are simple. Whether
the execution is
competing with other global companies. I'm sure there's lots of complications. So I don't know. We're I'm super pro eBay, at the end of the day. It's the only place that we found that we can make enough money to pay all of our bills and to do well.
Yep.
So, now something else you heard but haven't figured out yet.
Right. So another time that I called, which I'll talk about later, I was told that anchor stores get $25 credit for using promoted listings. Now, I'm just assuming that I couldn't figure out anywhere, how to, cash in that credit.
Now, why didn't you ask them at that moment, how do I do this?
I don't know. Okay. I think I honestly had been on hold for so long that finally when I got through and, talked to them,
right,
I was just like, okay, great. Okay. I'll look that up. And then right. I'm like, wait, how does this actually work?
So I guess it's just it was... when you're on a listing then our items would show up in some ad or something.
Yeah, it would be promoted. Yeah,
it would. So we need to figure that out.
Now, look, promoted listings can only be used for fixed price, multiple quantities. So, like our nail polish.
Oh, so it can't be.
It can't be just anything. Like, here's a jacket.
I guess that makes sense. So if someone clicks on it, if 5 people click on it, they want everyone to be able to buy them.
So you have multiple quantities. So I have done promoted listings before. When they first came out, I just tried them and put our nail polish in them, and I didn't sell any. But the thing is, they always say the higher percentage of the sale you pay, the more likely it will be show up in search, which is so annoying. So I put a couple things because we do have a couple multiple quantities in there on our store. So I'm assuming that once you get up to $25, that will be free, and then after that you'll start getting charged. So that's just my theory.
It's what they say about assuming.
Yeah, I do. So I need to call again, or maybe someone can answer it. I don't know. But yeah, I need to call again and be like, okay, tell me how to do this.
The last thing we want to talk about eBay is just simply the fact that I keep falling for the old switcheroo.
Right.
And that is when you go to
a
thrift store or a yard sales too, and if you see a box and you're like, oh, cool, there's this item, this is an awesome thing. How much is $1? Great, I'll take it. And then we come home and you realize that someone took out, it might be a doorknob.
And it was a doorknob.
And if you realize, there's a doorknob in there.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I will open up and okay,
that's a doorknob.
But someone took off an old doorknob, put a new one on, and put the old one in the box.
And then the box makes it look like it's the new one, the fancy new one.
So I fall for that almost every time.
Look, it's the same thing with
and that happens with routers.
Yep. So you're like, look at this pristine box with this brand new router. It's worth $100.
It's got the paperwork in it.
Yeah, geez, we got to get this. I'm like, did you open the box? Because the old router is probably in there without a plug. And that's exactly that happened at a thrift store. I'm like, that router is probably still worth money, but not the $15 they want us to pay for this old one.
Switcheroo.
So that's happened a few times. So that happened yesterday with a thermostat. We were like, oh, look at this, Honeywell thermostat. Those always sell. And we open it up. It's some old generic one. It's like, oh, this is the one they took off the wall to replace with it. So
I don't think people do it on purpose. They just
they throw it in the box. They donate it. Yeah. So you got to be careful of that.
Okay, Amazon FBA. So we had decent-ish week. No big deal. We've just been really, I think for us, books seem to be the thing that are the most doable for us on, either because we can find them relatively cheap. We're not finding thousands of them, but we find them enough, and they sell kind of steady.
Yeah.
It's this week we sold a $140 book. I think it might be
one book for $140 that you found.
And it cost me a nickel.
Yep.
And it's like we were talking, someone on the blog had been like, I want to start selling books on Amazon. How do I do it? And the answer is start scanning.
You scan.
Because that's the thing. When we first started this, it wasn't that long ago. People hearing this probably remember us starting out. I would stand in front of a wall of books.
Yep.
And I would just start scanning.
Scan them all.
I mean, there was the first couple times I was scanning every single book.
This is before there was the Flow app inside the seller app too. Right. So there were some books where I would manually type in the ISBN number. It's crazy.
But then very quickly we learned fiction books.
No.
So you skip over that. And then if you're like, oh, anything printed by a big printing company Harcourt and Brace or something or a Random House, don't pick those because they just do huge
They printed
amounts.
Millions.
So we start now I can stand in front of a wall of books and I still it's my time, but I can pretty well start grabbing the ones that will have a good chance.
Yeah, you're like, this one looks interesting. Let's scan it. Oh, not on FBA?
Right,
cool.
Some little small publisher, or it's some weird how-to, how to make sailboats or something.
How to make sailboats. So, for our listeners, especially because you've been doing the book scanning the most, when you are looking at the app, what are you looking at? Tell me the like 3 points
I don't use any special app. I just use the Amazon
It's
seller
free.
app. So I hit scan.
Right.
And then you scan either barcode or you can scan the front of the book.
Right.
And 99.9% of the time it knows it. And then it takes you to a page and it tells you the ranking. And then it tells you how much it sells for.
New and used. So make sure there's 2 tabs. Sometimes new, you're like, this book's worth $300. And you're like,
and really, again, I'm sure the people that sell books like for serious are laughing at me because they're like, oh, you don't know all these things. So
yeah,
I'm basically like, as long as it's under $1 million,
it sales rank
and it sells for over $10,
right,
I'll buy it.
Yep, because
we're getting these for, again, about a nickel a piece. So if I make $10 on a nickel, even with all the fees, if I'm walking away with $6 or $7, it's worth sending in. You know, it's all a numbers game. It's like sending them in, but obviously we're looking for the ones that sell for 20 and 30.
Yeah.
I don't know about other people. It's pretty rare. Like, if we go out, I'll get maybe 10 books, and I'm lucky if 2 of them sell for over $20.
Right.
I mean, we're not just finding, the places we go to don't have the really, really expensive books, or at least I'm not finding them.
But the great thing is about processing books is you don't have to take pictures of them. Right. I scan them in, I print a label, and I throw them in a box and send them to FBA. Right. Like, it's
and we get so few returns on books, because I think people buy a book, they're like, hey, great, I have a book. I mean, we got another return for like a plumbing supply. It's like,
dude, look, I honestly, when I saw that return last night, it was right before we were going to sleep. Right now, until the 14th, you can send stuff back to yourself for free. I kind of just want to pull everything.
Like, I feel like, and I'm sure people that sell hardcore on Amazon and FBA will nod their head and be like, yeah, there are certain categories where you're just getting more return than normal, because it might be what Ryan says, with things like, faucets, people buy 3 of them, and
choose
then
one of them, return the other ones,
and send the other 2. Because I don't know why.
Like, yeah.
So anyway, I guess the key is to find the items where you're not getting the its returns.
That's why I love books.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I love, is the books.
Yeah. I mean, and like, one buyer returned a bathroom, its faucet, and it looks like they had installed it and they damaged it.
Yeah.
And then what can we do?
And there's one little part that's missing that makes it unusable.
So what'd you do? Open up a case?
Okay, so I'm still in the middle of doing this. I opened up a case. I went on chat and I was like, yo, I got this returned. I got it sent back to me. There's a piece missing. I can't even sell this again.
Right.
And I just was like, what do I do? And so now it's been a few days. Now they sent me an email this morning saying, you need to send us a photograph of the damage or the missing pieces, and we'll proceed from there. So I took photos of it, and I'm going to send it, and I'll just see, what
And
what the
this is an expensive item. Like,
it's like over $100.
Right. And so...
and it sucks that I can't sell it again.
Yeah. I really do feel like eBay does a better job, or at least gives a seller a chance to at least have a conversation about its return. I definitely understand about, like, if you're a seller, you got to eat things, you just got to, like, keep things as moving along, give a good experience. I get that, but, it's not a good feeling when it feels like people are abusing the system.
Right.
Especially if it happens, it's more than,
just all the time.
Yeah, if it happens more than 2 or 3 times in a 12-month period, it starts feeling like a pattern.
Right.
Okay. Oh, and just before we talked about the numbers, like this week when I was reading the blog comments, I'm really amazed at the level of knowledge that has kind of accumulated. Yep. In the experience of people who are commenting to each other on the blog. Yep. People are doing really good about asking questions, other people come and
answering them. I mean,
answering them where I'm like, I didn't know that.
Well, number one, I didn't know that, and number two, they answered before I even got a chance to read the comments.
And I like it too. Everything's pretty low drama and just and this idea of like, if you're going to make a bold statement, to have some like very clear evidence that that's true.
Yep. Or if you're going to make a bold statement and don't have evidence, be willing to, and just concede to that.
And just have an open mind. I mean, I know as long as someone can prove to me that something's true, or that some strategy works better than another, and there's, good evidence for, or a logic behind it that I can test, I'm like, I'll change my whole business based on that.
And I have at times.
You know what? So someone came on and said, it was in Larry's basement, he said that eBay search wasn't good. And that was definitely true. Like I guess it was 3 years ago, Google slammed down eBay.
Yeah.
eBay would be like on the 8th page.
Like no one saw eBay results.
Because eBay was doing some really spammy stuff. I mean, they should have gotten slammed, and everyone felt it. I think that there's a sense of like eBay's still bad at search, but so I just started doing some searches and started
Google.
Realizing, so I go to Google, pick an item, type in an item name, and eBay was showing up within the top 5 on many items I was trying to find. I think eBay still doesn't do as well in search on like big broad searches, like if you do vintage books. Like Nancy was like, try vintage books or vintage T-shirts,
and that doesn't come
eBay's
up.
Not on the front page. It's other places.
And you want that,
but I think if you're searching for more unique items, eBay was definitely popping up. I mean, if you typed in like iPhone 6, eBay showed up.
Okay, that's good. That's good. That's great.
So I do feel like you got to give them credit that I'm assuming they are putting all of their effort into doing
being
search.
On Google.
That company needs to cease existing if they aren't putting all their effort into a search. But it seems to be working.
Good. That's good. I like that. I'm glad to hear that.
And I do wonder at the end of the day, how many sellers are out there who sell on eBay and make a living off of like, scavenger style. Like,
right.
It's not buying brand new items or wholesale or whatever it's called, like
retail arbitrage.
Yeah, or the kind where you buy big shipments from China.
Oh, like drop shipping?
Yep, and then there's another one where you like put your name on it.
Private labels.
Yeah, private labels.
There's so many different ones. Yes,
I'm talking about the people. It's like us that are going to a yard sales and selling online. Mm-hmm. I really wonder how many of those sellers are on eBay. That
it's funny. Like,
is it 1,000, 10,000?
Is it 500? Like,
It's more than 500.
I was searching, I was listing a lot of stuff. So I've been trying to research prices on items just to refresh my memory on like what is selling for what. And it's funny when I see another seller and I can tell they're a full-time seller. Number one, because their numbers, their feedback numbers and their, amount of stuff that's in their store, the amount of stuff they sell. But you can tell by their photos. Like, I'll look up a pair of, like, Easy Spirit pumps or whatever. And then you find one and you're like, that's a professional seller. So you click through and you like this one seller who just sells clothes was in some random part of the country. I forget where it was. I think it was somewhere in Ohio. And they had over 3,000 listings and they had like 5,000 feedback. And I was like, they're just like us. I'm like... It's so rare to find that kind of seller. Yep.
I do wonder its numbers,
Yeah.
The U.S. is a big place, but, eBay is a global thing too. But even in America, how many people are there who are doing this? I mean, is it 100,000? I mean,
right.
I would love to know that its number. Okay, let's do our numbers real quick. So in our main store, we sold 35 items, and we made about $1,200.
Not bad.
Yep. The day isn't over yet, so we may get some more in there. Our average price was about $34, $35, so it really was kind of bread and butter stuff.
Yeah.
There really is a difference in our week when we're just selling $30-ish items versus when we can sell like a $300 item, a $500 item,
Right.
We have not been getting those big sales lately. On Amazon, we probably made $200 or $300. And Bonanza, we actually sold an item
for $80.
It's like one of those wacky bonanza sales where someone pays like full price for like a really weird item. It's awesome.
Yeah, it was this funny, weird art print.
And then in our second eBay store, we just didn't do very well at all this week. We sold 6 items for about $150.
Yeah, it was low.
Yeah, so it is what it is. And things we sold, I mean, it was all pretty just normal stuff, so I don't really have a whole lot to...
I mean, it was like shoes, hats, shirts. My t-shirts have been selling.
Yep.
Weird knickknacks, some artwork, a bunch of books and ephemera. Like, our book boxes and our ephemera boxes are kind of a nightmare to go through. But in a way, it's good, because that means I'm selling that stuff. Yep. Like, I've had to go through it several times this week.
It's one less thing,
Yeah, I'm like, I can't believe I sold this, okay.
And, we talked about a couple weeks, or a month ago, I found a big, huge bin of these, like, masks.
Like construction dust masks.
Right. And some thrift store was selling them, $8 a bag.
Yeah, huge bag.
A garbage bag full. Yeah. So I bought them all.
I think it was just in 2 bags. No, 1 bag?
It was in 4 bags.
Oh, 4 bags, okay.
It was one of the things where I bought as much as I could. I thought I needed, but then I went back the next day and got them all. So we've been selling those, and we sold another couple packs. So I probably paid $20. We'll probably make $400 or $500. I can see why some people that sell love to only deal in quantity.
Yeah.
It really is fun to just do one listing and then just keep going back.
So like quantity 20.
I can see why people get addicted to that. The challenging thing is finding those multiples that are cheap.
And sell for a lot of money.
Yeah, like, this is great because I'm making so much profit. It wouldn't be fun if like we're only making, $2 a thing.
Right, exactly.
Okay, customer issues. Number 1. We had a return on a shirt. It hasn't gotten back to us yet, but a guy gives a really low offer on a shirt. It was like a Tommy Bahama
silk shirt.
He was like $15. We're like, just take it.
Great, we'll take it.
And and that's the thing about sometimes taking these low offers. He gets it, and he says it was 2 inches shorter than what we said. And this is like one of the shirts where when we would do all the measurements.
So all the measurements were on there.
So if it was 2 inches shorter than as we said, it's our fault. But that's another good reason why maybe it's just best to put the tag size so then he couldn't say that. Because we're like, it says extra large.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
We didn't measure it. But I don't know. It's just so crazy that he's going to mail it all the way back. It's just the amount of work when you're dealing with these really low offers.
Well, sometimes. Look, I sold an $8 shirt to someone the other day. It was just this junky shirt that I was like, I can't even believe we're selling this. And this guy offered me $8. I was like, sure, great. He returned it because it didn't fit. I'm like, he paid the 20% restocking fee, plus he paid the shipping there and the shipping back. I'm like,
yeah,
why, dude? Why? It's crazy.
And then the big issue we had this week was I'll say the story because I'm more, I think, objective about it, and then you can jump in, all right?
And clarify, sure.
There's a woman that bought a print from us, an art print.
Let me just clarify. It was a limited edition, like etching print,
right,
with the name signed on it in pencil and the number. So it's not a lithograph,
right? It wasn't like a huge famous artist. We sold it for $75, and it was mounted and in a frame with a piece of its glass. So she wrote to us and said, I want to buy it. I'll pay you this price. Can you take it out of the frame and take out the glass? Because she wants to save to ship it. So we're like, okay, that's fine. Then she gets it, and then she opens up a case and is returning it and saying that it's our fault.
Item not described.
Right. Saying that when we took it out of the frame, the person that had framed it didn't really cut around the edges correctly. It was kind of like jagged and, and it was actually glued to a piece of foam board. Core, yeah. And she's like, I don't like it. I'm sending it back. You're going to pay for everything. And I remember both of us were like, what? So I just said, Ryan, call eBay. All right, now it's your turn. Go.
Okay. So here's the deal. The buyer asked me to alter the item, basically threatening that she's not going to pay for it unless it's altered. So at this point in the summer, I'm like, I need a $75 sale. I'm fine. I'll take it out. I'll ship it to you first class. No big deal. I do that. So I explained this to the eBay rep. I'm like, it took a while to explain it to him too, because he's like, oh, she shouldn't ask you to alter it. You shouldn't ship it to her. I'm like, you don't understand. I've already shipped it to her. She wants to return it.
Just have them always read the messages instead of explaining it. Yeah.
But he did. He read all the messages, finally got through it. And so she's opened an item not described case. And he said, look, since she asked you to alter it, and then essentially she's returning it because you altered it, she's not covered for buyer protection. So I'm going to close this case.
Right.
You don't owe her anything. She can't leave you any feedback.
Right.
It's like buyer's remorse on an item that she bought that she asked you to alter, and then she didn't like that you altered it.
Right.
Which I'm so happy that the rep
So it was
understood.
Really... So that's, example of it's important when... cases get open that you don't agree with, to call eBay.
Just call them.
Or PayPal immediately, because it's good to get ahead of the problem. Because if you wait or if you start arguing, we don't want to talk to the buyer because she's already upset. She has her argument in her mind. We're not going to change her mind. It's eBay who we need to convince.
Right.
And so they close a case, so we're done.
Look, the second part of it, too, just real quick, is... She said that the artist didn't sign it, that someone just wrote his name on it in pencil. That's the artist's signature. Yeah. You're like, what? This lady's crazy.
Well, no. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes people just start adding a lot of complaints.
That's true. I
mean, there's a photo of the
signature,
a close-up, so that's what it was. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was a good thing in a good outcome.
I felt
for
very
us.
happy about that. Yes.
Okay. The comments were good this week on the blog. One thing that someone had sent to us, Crystal, she sent us a link to a site. It's really good. When you buy a Woolrich coat.
Yes.
Sometimes, very often the tags are so different, and they're different through age. And she sent us a link to a site that has a photo of all the different it labels. And then it gives you the
date,
the time frame.
So the only thing about this link is I do have to disagree with one of the time stamps of the thing because it'll say the 1960s looked like this one. Well, it's from the 60s to the 80s that it looked like that. So you have to it's the white label with the black outline of a sheep, and that was up until the 80s. It looked like that.
Got it.
Just so you know.
I will put that link on the blog and just another a resource for you to use when it's pricing things or labeling things. All right, what we're going to do this week. So I will be working on... I had to catch up. We've been buying some stuff, so I have a small pile of things I need to keep up with so they don't become a death pile.
Yeah.
And then my next thing is I'm working on 4 tubs of fabric. And these are part of its death pile. Yeah. And it's interesting. It's like some of it is actual fabric pieces, but a lot of it are just like sheets
and linens,
tablecloths, napkins.
Yeah. And that's we sell that stuff.
Yeah. I personally don't like to process that because it's like, how do you take a picture of vintage or used sheets?
It's hard. Well, you know what?
It's like here's a picture of a pile of it.
This is classic Jay. He's like, what do I do? Ryan, you have to do it. So I'm gonna end up taking pictures half of that stuff.
So is that my voice? What I do?
Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me. No, I mean, the thing is, I don't mind doing that stuff because I know it sells, so I'm just like... a sheet set. You're like, how do I take a picture of a sheet set that's been used and is like out of... You just kind of pile it up so it looks neat and they can see the color and the texture.
Show the pattern
and the pattern.
Any kind of tag.
Get it. They know what a sheet set looks like, And
you don't really have to measure it as long as it's
you're like, it's
full,
a king size. Yeah.
And that is true. I mean, sheets... We always get them because, you know what? They
sheets are expensive.
Cheap. Like, we just bought 4 sets of sheets for one of our rentals, and we spent over $100, and that stuff is not cheap.
It's not cheap, man. No. I will continue to work on t-shirts.
Yep.
And whatever. There's a million clothes.
Yeah, and that's where I'll help. It's you. I think we need to start working on a winter jackets.
Yes, we should do that before we
get
go.
as many of those done before we leave for Ireland, so we can maybe either list while we're on, away, or just have them ready to list
for then
when people start to buy.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, we're going to listen to some questions on our voicemail line. You can always call us at 540-407-8486. You have 3 minutes to leave a message, and let's take a listen.
Hi, Jay and Ryan. This is Chris from Bend, Oregon. It's pretty awesome that you guys are able to come visit our town, and hopefully I'm able to get an email to you next time to talk about all the cool places to go. But I wanted to share something with you. I just listened to your last podcast about being an opportunist. I work in manufacturing, and our company was switching the knobs that they use to build a certain product that we built. And they were going to throw out all the old knobs. And as I'm in the process of throwing them in the dumpster, I was thinking to myself, you know what? I wonder if anybody sells knobs on eBay. So I looked it up, and the knobs that I was throwing out were worth $7 a piece. And I have 10,000 knobs. So, and that's $7 after shipping. That's the profit that I'm going to bring in. So I thought that was pretty great, and I wanted to celebrate that with you guys. Also, something that my wife and I do, since we work so hard and we're trying to pay off our bills and our debts with eBay, we want to have fun money as well, and we do something called a $10 challenge, where we both get $10 a month to go out and garage sale and buy whatever we want, and the profits from that go into our pockets to buy the wants, not needs, the things that, we would normally have the money for, but luckily we have this fun little cash machine called eBay, and we're able to do that. So I just wanted to share those two things with you. We absolutely love your show. We listen to it all the time, and keep up the good work.
I love that story of when some company is just throwing out stuff, and that's awesome if you work there and they're just willing to say take it. I mean,
you said it's $7 a piece, and you have 10,000 of them.
I mean, that'd be crazy.
I mean, I really hope you can sell those. I mean, talk about having quantity.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
So I would love to hear that story in 12 months. How many of those 10,000 did you sell? Because that's you could buy a house. It's with a profit you can make off of that.
Not in Bend, Oregon.
Yeah, not in Bend, Oregon. But and then that's a cool idea about having the fun money challenge.
It's almost like a little piggy bank.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah.
Hey, Jay and Ryan. It's Gary. You asked questions about video games, and you want to know, are people doing this just as a side hustle, or do people do this full time? There are a ton of people who do this, as a side supplement, but there are people who do it full time. And if you're asking how do they find the quantity, well, you hit the nail on the head with one of the things you suggested, Jay, was the Craigslist ads. If you scan Craigslist, just go to video games, you'll see a lot of ads for people who are looking for and will buy your old video games, or any video games. Just shoot them an email. That's how a lot of these big volume people get their stuff. And also the Facebook buy sell trades, they'll do the same thing. They'll go to one of the buy sell trade sites, pages, say in search of, video games, Nintendo, whatever. They'll get people commenting, then they'll private message each other, and they buy them for pennies on the dollar, go back and sell them online. They also are the people, you hear these stories about the yard salers that come half an hour before the yard sale starts, and they'll, go up to the people, hey, do you have any video games? I'd like to buy them all right now. That's a lot of the way that people get them. Or they'll go to yard sales that don't have any video games and just ask, and people who don't know, like grandma you're talking about with the Apple computer, hey, do you have a video game? Well, I have this old Nintendo. My kids are grown, but it's sitting down there collecting dust. I gave it to you for $5. Those basically are the kind of ways that, they get it in bulk. But a lot of it is the internet advertising. And I know I said this last week, but the market is getting saturated. So a lot of these guys are really, really cutthroat about it, and it's just really competitive finding this stuff, because it does sell pretty easy if you know what you're doing and you know how to price things and you know what to look for. So plus, I mean, in America, it's so mainstream right now. Having a video game system is like having a TV or having a computer or having the internet. Everybody's got 1, 2, or 5 at their house. And usually if you're a serious gamer, you just want to focus on the current generation, and you're willing to sell the old generation for a very small fraction of a percent to help fund the new generation of stuff. So that's that's kind of how it works. Stay away from sports games. Stay away from the mass-produced. If it says a bestseller or it says greatest hits, usually that's pretty saturated game as well.
Yeah, so that's good to hear. I mean, that's kind of what we had assumed, that people that like to sell video games are really aggressive about it and are, putting ads out, going early to the yard sales.
Yep.
I mean, it's interesting. I've never done this before, like going to a yard sale and then asking the person that runs it if they have stuff that they don't put out.
There.
Steve Schultz talks about that because he's really into vintage record players and where he'll go and be like, do you have any vintage record players? And he said that people will be like, yeah, I do. I just didn't think to put it out.
Well, it's interesting because it seems like people maybe they assume that no one will want it, so they're like, I'm not even going to bother putting it out or something.
Or maybe it was on the edge of not thinking they would sell it, but they were like, well, if someone wants to pay me,
right? Maybe
I will. Anyway, it's a good idea.
Yeah, I've never tried that.
Yeah.
Hey guys, my name is Ryan, and I've got an idea or something that I'm thinking about trying. I have been shipping items that are large and actually freight them out of our warehouse, and eBay doesn't give me an option of uploading tracking for those items, or I guess I cannot ship them without offering tracking. The freight companies, it just doesn't work for the eBay system. So what I'm thinking of doing, or actually what I'm going to try to do, is print a label, just a first class label, and send the customer a letter and maybe even something nice, something with our logo or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's going to have something that says, hey, your items have shipped. They're going to be arriving via freight soon. Call us, text us, email us, whatever. Just letting them know that they're coming, but while doing so, also satisfying eBay's requirement for tracking to keep my seller standards up. Hope it works. I mean, I think as long as I let the customer know what's up, they won't be upset about receiving a letter. I don't know. What do you guys think? Thank you. Have a great one.
Okay, so first of all, I do want to say it's weird that eBay offers freight as an option, but won't let you upload tracking for the freight item. I think that's so strange.
Well, I mean, it could be because freight is is not like a specific company,
right?
Like is not a UPS or a FedEx. It's just general freight.
It could be any freight.
And that company might not have a system where eBay can hook into.
Yeah. I think it's a interesting idea to send a trackable letter to your person and put the shipping, tracking number in there. But the only issue I see about that is if something happens to the freight item and someone opens a case like, I never got this, you can't really say, well, look at the tracking. Like, eBay won't back you up on that.
Right.
They're
because I'm sure a letter will get there before the freight.
Right. Although I understand that the reason you want to upload tracking is so that you don't get dinged on your eBay, top-rated seller stuff.
That being said, sometimes I think we all get a little bit too anal about, something's not going to get tracked. I mean, remember too, eBay gives you a percentage,
right?
Every 3 months or every month, depending on how much you sell, you can have stuff that's late. I mean, none of us, I don't think, are perfect,
right?
So if 1 or 2 get by, or 10 get by, it's not a big deal.
Here's the other thing.
Go.
My other thing that you can do is, since your freight company is not compatible with eBay and you could be getting dinged on late shipping, blah, 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 you should call eBay and be like, explain that situation and get that ding taken off. I think they would do it if you're like, I have a freight company. You can see the message to my buyer that has the tracking through my freight company. You can track it online. It's here. Please take that, late non-shipping ding off because I did ship it.
What I would love to hear, because we talked about this a couple of years ago when we started to sell furniture.
Yeah.
We looked into selling, bigger pieces of furniture and shipping it freight.
Right.
We decided it just seemed too complicated, too much work. And we decided now it's just a local pickup for the most part. I'd love to hear if people do use freight and how you do that, because the freight companies we talked to were like, well, you have to put it on a pallet and you have to
put a blanket around it.
And I mean, we would need infrastructure to do that. When I just wanted to be like, I want to bring you a table
and you do it.
Yep. But
and charge the customer for that.
Yeah.
Hey, Jay and Ryan, it's Adam from the Mysterious Caravan. I was listening to your episode where you were talking about people who sell and specialize in vintage video games and kind of how they go about acquiring their inventory, and if they make a ton of money off of it, or, if it's just a hobby, or what the deal is with that. So I just thought I'd share an interesting short story. We had a blinds company come to our house and install some new blinds for us a couple months ago. And the guy that came to install them was a younger guy, and we were just hanging out talking, and we somehow got into the conversation of garage sailing and selling on eBay and stuff like that. And he told me that he specializes in buying and collecting and selling and trading video games and consoles and all that kind of stuff. So I was just like, wow, that's awesome. And, and he started telling me about some of his bigger finds. He's a collector, so he keeps a lot of the more valuable stuff. But if he gets doubles or triples, he'll sometimes sell stuff. But he was very knowledgeable about the different kinds of consoles, which ones were released in which countries and when, and which ones were special versus just regular. And, he's into fixing them and cleaning them up. And so he just is all about it. So I can really see why someone would specialize. But I was just, then he randomly said, he's like, oh, well, I'm going over to this house on Saturday to check out some video game stuff. Do you want me to call you when I'm done and you can go look at what's left? And I'm like, I don't know, that maybe. But I'm like, well, how do you find all of these places, and how do people let you come and look at their stuff? I'm like, do you put an ad on Craigslist, or what do you do? And he's like, dude, I'm in people's houses every single day installing blinds. I just ask them if they have any old video game stuff that I could look at, or that they'd be interested in selling. And usually it kind of catches them off guard, but if they happen to have a box of old stuff in the basement, like from their kids or something, they're usually not super connected to it, and oftentimes he can just buy a box of stuff right then and there. So I decided to share that story about something I heard about someone who does that. So I thought it was really cool, and my blinds look great. I like vintage video game stuff too, but I'm not an expert. So anyway, keep doing what you're doing. You guys are the best. I'll talk to you again soon.
That's that's exactly what we're talking about, being an opportunist. That's really smart. I'm really kind of amazed at the people who sell, who are that aggressive, that are very open that they sell. Yeah. And that they're asking people for stuff to sell. Yeah. I think I don't know what it is. I'm not saying our way is better. I just feel more comfortable. I don't want people to know I sell. We've talked about this. I don't tell people. I don't ask them if they have stuff to sell. I just go, and I just kind of walking around and getting is what I want.
Right.
Without having a conversation about it. But it's amazing. I guess if you're that aggressive, you're going to find stuff that, we would never find.
Because it's not put out there.
Yeah.
But honestly, we find enough stuff on our own that we can handle.
I think it's just like, maybe it's personalities. Some people are like, they're making like that guy, Golden Finger Picker, says like he had a card. So he would go to auctions and he would be handing his card out to everyone. So if they had stuff they wanted to sell, they would call him.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like, I want to go to the auction. I want to be like,
I don't want anyone to know I'm even here.
You don't know who I am, and you don't know why I'm buying this stuff.
Right.
Business.
Yep.
It's just
two different
ways
personality of doing it. Yep.
Thank you for being here today. Check out our blog at scavengerlife.com for all the links we talked about, and you can join the conversation there. Again, that's really what this is all about to me, and the reason why we do this is because I like what people have to say afterwards. You can call and you can leave a question or comment as something you heard at 540-407-8486. We post this episode every Monday morning. On Wednesdays, we do have a post where now it's Steve Schultz. We post his What Sells It's video, and we can talk about that. And we encourage other people to post their video there as well. You just have to go into the comments. You can be anonymous if you want. We love to hear people's names. Put a link there. You can subscribe to us through their iTunes or our YouTube, so you'll always get the latest one. We do have a thing where if you're kind of new to hearing us, we have a lot of back episodes, and iTunes will only show you the last, handful, 10 or something. If you want all of our archives, you can either go to a YouTube and watch them all free, or a listen, or we actually have a link on our site where you can actually pay us, and we'll send them all to you.
All 270. So
then you can put them on at your iPad or your iTunes, and they're all in order, so it's there. And you can listen to our other podcast if you're bored right now and want to hear our voices again. That's at shampooandbooze.com, and that's where we talk about our rental business that we've started with our eBay profits. This podcast is ending.
In 3, 2, 1, bye.
Bye-bye.